Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patricia, and Peter. 1964, Part 141. These are letters that were originally published as Small Shaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC number 60, published February 14, 2001. Letter from the editor of the SFMC. Here are this issue's highlights. The children loved the peak freens. I feel so lucky to be able to dress two pretty girls that are so different. John was on television Sunday for a full half hour. He was very good, speaking about the big brothers. Mrs. Diamond had a toy tiger for Peter. It's been a much milder winter, much to Mark's chagrin. The snow is gone and he likes snow. Guess it's his Canadian background. I haven't had a cleaning woman for a year. Mrs. Vogler says she is in seventh heaven and already packed for the trip to Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. We usually spend hours walking up and down the beach looking for shells of various kinds. Mrs. Diamond passed away. We sent $10 to the Cancer Society in her memory. I had a conference with Patty's teacher today, and she said that she is going to sail through school with no problems, like a breeze. Says that she is very mature. We bought the children a set of encyclopedia, and Mark is so thrilled with it. Pamela can say the Gettysburg Address. John's folks said that if we decide to stay in Florida for Easter, that they could have an Easter egg hunt for the children later. Really looking forward to the sound of the surf on the sand all night. When Patty was eating her Easter rabbit roll last night, she suddenly said, my tooth, it's gone." She'd swallowed it. She wept copiously. We assured her the tooth fairy would come anyway. Pamela wrote a note of explanation. Still she cried, so we assured her everyone lost teeth, but she wailed, "But no one has 4 out at the same time." John said the best part of the whole vacation was seeing Peter running down the beach after him. So there you have it, folks. Happy reading and go Tribe. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, January 6, 1964. Dear Mother and Dad, how very sorry we were to hear about poor little Janet. What a sad Christmas for them. We do hope she's better now and you've had your make-up Christmas. I've meant to send you one of the little dresses you sent Patty that she's outgrown to give to Janet. It looks like new in a lovely winter red plaid, so we'll try to send it to you. We're sorry about Dad's cap. I wanted to get him one when I got his jacket, but didn't know the size, so when we were home I looked in one of his hats or caps, and it said 7 3/8. We tried all over town, and I made 15 phone calls, and only 2 in that color were Dad's, and a 7.5 for John's dad. Both John and his dad wear 7 3/4, but the caps run larger and stretch some, so we thought maybe that it could fit Dad. Let Bud try it, and if it doesn't fit him, you can give it to Mark sometime. I'll keep trying for a larger one for Dad. Maybe they'll get more in next fall in that color. They are very good caps. You must have been all so worried about Janet. Could it have been the mumps affecting her too? Peter had mumps when we were in Florida last year and we didn't know it. Didn't Janet have measles last Christmas or the one before and wore her robe? Every time I hear of them sick, I remember Bud saying I should take lessons from Doris and John saying to just wait. Our little Peter got scarlet fever this week, so has had penicillin shots, and we've all been on penicillin. Today we aired and washed his toys and bedding and clothes, and tomorrow the public health nurse returns. The children go back to school tomorrow, so didn't miss any school. How I wish you could have seen our house this Christmas. John put up the blue lights outdoors and had a spotlight on the front door. I have my gold wreath on the front door with gold velvet bow. Then I made the leaded glass windows on the front door like stained glass windows in pink, turquoise, and gold. We have the same white tree with blue lights and pink and turquoise and silver and gold balls and a white feather angel on top. In the dining room, we have a small white tree covered with candy canes. We had the furry stockings hung over the fireplace with the manger scene on the mantel and big gold stars on the wall. I had a big candle and evergreens on the buffet and a huge candle in the corner, and of course our Advent wreath candles on the dining and kitchen tables. We made a big marshmallow and gumdrop topiary tree for the kitchen and candy wreath for the back door. So your blue cushions matched okay. I really cushioned us to pieces this year. I bought aqua ones for myself, then some cerise ones. Then some more cerise velvet ones, then yours came. For the girls' room, I got a white wrought iron vanity bench with cerise cushion. So do we have cushions? John's mother liked the gold one you made so much. It does look fine, also the brown. When I told Peter there was a gun in your parcel for him, he asked, "Does it work?" He's had all hand-me-down ones. He was so very sick, high fever and then rash. He still has it. Thank heavens for these new drugs. I don't think we'd have any family left by now. He was really delirious, and we were up many nights with him. I, too, had the sore throat. Scarlet fever is a strep throat, and healthy people can carry it. There hadn't been any cases in the county for 2 weeks. There were 433 people in church Christmas Eve. The children love the Peak Friends too. Good night. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, January 15th, 1964. Dear Mother and Dad, I was so sorry to get this letter from Bud and learn that all our gifts to them were too small. And since he didn't mention the transistor radio, I'm wondering if maybe they had duty to pay. I'm sure I could exchange all the clothes for a size larger. Hard to believe Brian would take size 8. Guess I'd better stick to toys. I'm very glad that you are enjoying the electric blanket. I asked about one a couple of years ago, but you didn't seem to want one, but thought if the warm baths were good, the blanket might be also. I didn't know what color your bedroom is, but I thought the gold so cozy. I put the slippers you sent on right away. They went so well with my long white dress. We had another dinner party Saturday night, and I wore them again with the long white dress, so have enjoyed them very much. Pam was thrilled with her squirrel and manicure set and wore her charm bracelet Christmas Day. She looked so nice, wore her new hand-smocked red dress with white smocking that she won. It looked so nice with her white fur muff. Patty also wore a red dress with white pinafore, and John, Mark, and Peter wore their red shirts, and I wore my white Irish suit. Christmas Eve, Pam wore her blue aqua hand-smocked dress, and Patty wore that pretty aqua dress you sent her. She also wore it for her birthday. I feel so lucky to be able to dress two pretty girls that are so different. Pamela is now a Girl Scout and has the green uniform. She looks so nice in it. Janet and Joan are so different too. Peter seems fine now. John got up with him more than I did. It was fortunate it was over the holidays where we could sleep in, and also the children didn't miss any school. I went to a luncheon at school yesterday. The principal said she went to Florida for Christmas. We were talking about the luncheon. She came over to me and said she remembered John speaking to her about us going. John has made our plane reservations. We leave here on March 11th at 4:30 p.m., flight number 757, Eastern Airbus D7, arrive in St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Florida, Wednesday, March 11th at 8:55 p.m. We leave St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Saturday, March 28th at 10:25 a.m., arrive in Cleveland, Saturday, March 28th at 2:43 p.m. Each adult fare is $91.42, and the children all pay half fares. Have you decided about coming down? It would be wise to make reservations soon, for they are hard to get later. It would be good for Dad to get away and get some sun this time of year, too. Maybe they have half rates for wives? You would not have to come or go the same time as us, of course, unless you wanted to. This is the kind of vacation John wants. We live very quietly. John and the children like to fish, and I spend most of my time sitting on the beach. Mrs. Vogler yesterday said she'd like to fly down with us if she doesn't drive down in February. She said she'd have liked to have gone last year with us if she'd known. I told her that we had asked you both to come down. We do have 4 bedrooms, 8 twin beds, so we have room. Dad has never been to Florida either. John was on television Sunday for a full half hour. He was very good, speaking about the Big Brothers. Tomorrow I plan to go to a book review at church, and Friday have been invited to see a new overhead projection of sound method to be installed for the deaf children in East Cleveland. The annual church dinner Friday night. Of course, I have Sunday school and another luncheon to attend next week, and we're also having another dinner party. I am gradually catching up. At one point, we owed 14 dinner parties. I'm treasurer of the Women's Board of the Nature Center, and John took over a $1,000 check to the board meeting the other night. We gave over $2,000 last year and will equal that this year. Patty's doll dress fit fine, and she said was her favorite dress. That was an excellent Nielsen chocolate bar, too, and the children were so glad to get the Peak Freens. If you go to Florida with us, maybe you could visit us here before going home. John's dad's eye is coming along. John's mother explained it in detail, but I doubt if I can repeat it. When you grow older, something's supposed to come from the retina and slide off, but John's dad's tore off in little pieces. He's back to work part-time now. They sold the lot next door and the house is being built on it. Good night. Love, John and Ruth, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. Lake Erie Junior Museum, 28728 Wolf Road, Bay Village, Ohio. Located in the Huntington Reservation, Cleveland Metropolitan Parks District. February 1st, 1964. Dear Mother and Dad, this is my day to work at the Nature Center, but at the moment it's very quiet since the morning's classes are down at the Audubon Society. Usually this place is jumping. I brought some forsythia with me that I have blooming. It looks so nice and spring-like. I taught nursery school last week one day. I thought I'd drop it off, the forsythia, at Jones since today is her birthday. Tomorrow we'll bring some out to Marilyn Garrett after church since she asked me for some last week when she saw I had some blooming in the house. And I took some to Mrs. Diamond, too. Mrs. Diamond had a toy tiger for Peter. We had another dinner party for 10 people last Saturday, and I was so glad to have some of my forsythia out for the table. It makes spring seem much closer. We had a couple of days in the 60s, so it's been a much milder winter, much to Mark's chagrin. The snow is gone, and he likes snow. I guess it's his Canadian background. At the church annual dinner, an elderly woman told me that Mark reminded her of a little English boy, the way he behaved so nicely and let Pamela in and out of the church aisle ahead of him. And several said what nice manners all of the children had at the dinner. John was elected to the vestry. They've wanted him to run before, but he'd refused. This time they put him up anyway. I'm teaching Sunday school. Next week we are hosts at our house for Interracial Sunday. Several Negro couples will visit us, and we're having several neighbor couples also, the Whiteses, the Shelleys, and the Gregorys. We certainly do hope the school integration problem simmers down so there won't be too bad feelings, although there was some bitterness at the last one we went to. I went out 2 nights this week for the March of Dimes, $61. Used to be polio, now birth defects and arthritis. Probably should join with the health fund. Most of our neighbors are away at this time of year. I went to a nice luncheon last week, so we'll have to have one to repay all the ones I've been to. I'm taking Marion Bryson's painting with Anne, watercolor, on Monday afternoons. Also painting at home. Patty got all A's on her report card. Mark got all A's and 2 B's. Pamela didn't do so well, B's and C's. Patty and Pamela have had perfect attendance since September, and Mark just missed 4 days with a cold. Especially good for Patty beginning kindergarten. There are only 3 in her class who haven't missed. Love, John and Ruth. Myers, Stevens, and Ray, attorney at law, 2121 The Superior Building, 815 Superior Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114. February 14th, 1964. Dear Mrs. Smallshaw, trust you now have your air reservations in hand. Please accept the enclosed draft with our compliments. Good luck. Love, John. And this is another letter from John S. Ray. Myers, Stevens, and Ray, 2121 The Superior Building, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114. February 17th, 1964. Dear Mrs. Smallshaw, thank you for your letter of February 13th. We think it would be best if you leave Regina on March 11th, as you now have it arranged. You would arrive in Tampa Airport at 7:35 p.m. You could then take a cab to the St. Petersburg Clearwater Airport and wait for us to arrive at 8:55 p.m. The exact street address of our cottage is 728 Beach Trail, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. However, the mailing address is P.O. Box 176, care of Nancy Howard, Inc., Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. If we should somehow miss connections on the evening of March 11th, the cottage will be open and the key will be on the kitchen sink. We gather that you are not intending to accept our invitation to spend some time with us in Rocky River after we return from Florida. We would like to re-extend the invitation and wonder if you would reconsider. If you can do this, your travel arrangements for this part of your trip should probably be made before you leave Regina, rather than in Toronto, as you mentioned in your last letter. Red will be writing to you shortly. Good luck. Love, John. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116, February 18th, 1964. Dear Mother and Dad, we were very glad to get your letter and that you had decided to go to Florida with us. It is too bad that Dad will not go with you. It's too bad that he has such a bad cough. Very good that he's given up smoking. I'm glad that you appreciated John's clear letter. He spent a whole evening on the first one so that everything would be clear. I had him write it because he is always so exact. I guess he spent quite a bit of time on the second one also. I'm glad that the $100 will help. I haven't had a cleaning woman for a year. John gives me the money for one in my allowance, so I've been saving it. So that was what I sent in the fall, and I gave John the $100 to send to you, but he insisted on paying half. I'm very sorry to hear about Joan's hand. Bad experience for them on top of all they've had. I hope it is healing fine now. I had a nice letter from Doris. You could bring Brian's shirt back and I could exchange it. I'm sorry that you aren't coming back to Cleveland on your way back to Regina. Mrs. Vogler says she is in the seventh heaven and already packed. It's hard to believe we'll be there 3 weeks from tomorrow. She's so glad you're coming too. Your bathing suit sounds nice. You'll need something light and a beach robe so you won't get sunburned. You'll need some cool cotton clothes as it should be warm, also sweaters for the evenings and flat shoes for the beach. You can buy anything you need there, bathing cap, etc. We have several. We usually spend hours walking up and down the beach looking for shells of various kinds. A good dress for Sunday, and if we eat out. Sunglasses are a must, but can be bought there. A couple of weeks ago, I got a bad virus, severe sore throat, and was in bed several days in between getting meals. It was unfortunate, for it was just before we were having interracial Sunday here. It made me realize that I'll have to get a cleaning woman again, for I had much to do and I didn't feel up to it. As a matter of fact, yesterday was my first day out in 2 weeks. Mrs. Diamond passed away. She swallowed her tongue. I had just been there the day before with Peter. Mr. Diamond had a toy tiger on top of her to give to Peter, and we took her forsythia. Mr. Diamond said we were her last visitors. I told her how sorry I was first time I'd mentioned it, and she tried to speak but couldn't. Mr. Diamond then went and asked the doctor to operate to get her speech back, and an hour later she was gone. We all went to the funeral, but I was too sick to go to the funeral. John and Peter went. Mr. Diamond has called us twice. We sent $10 to the Cancer Society in her memory. We had 7 Negro guests and 7 white guests, 16 of us in all, on Interracial Sunday. It went very well. We were all apprehensive with our educational crisis. The leader was very pleased with our discussion. One colored woman came up to me and said, "I knew you'd be nice, or we wouldn't be here." A few days later, one colored woman called and said how lovely everything had been, and how graceful and lovely I was, and what beautiful children we had. Her daughter graduated from Wellesley and married a graduate of Harvard Law School, and they are now in Tunisia, in Africa. And this woman has been to Europe, Africa, and also around the world. She was an accountant. Last weekend, we had 19 here for a United World Federalist Peace Clatch, and next week they've asked me to have one of our preaching missions preparatory meetings of the church in our home here, so I've kept busy. We are going to a dinner and dance at the Cleveland Athletic Club, and the next week we are going to a dinner at some friends in Clifton Park. I had a conference with Patty's teacher today, and she said that Patty is going to sail through school with no problems, like a breeze, and says that she is very mature. I doubt if they have forsythia in Saskatchewan. You could ask a nursery. But last winter, when it was colder here, it wasn't very good. You could try forcing Saskatchewan crabapple or any blossoming bush by bringing in branches early. One of the women here last week said she was going right home and pick some forsythia. I have it in the dining room and on the table, the living room and mantel, everywhere. One of the men said it was the prettiest home he'd been in a long time, and he lives on the street the mayor lives on. John was on the radio last week, and very good. A woman phoned in and was so grateful to hear him. We bought the children a set of encyclopedia, and Mark is so thrilled with it. His violin is just fine. I asked Bud for the loan of the cornet for Mark, but he said Brian was starting last September. Pamela is taking the flutophone now. They have rhythm band classes here for youngsters, too. I have been very tired lately, so also looking forward to relaxing in Florida. We are all ready for it. We need it. Pamela would love to have the blouse. She takes a size 12, but says she prefers short sleeves. She weighs 84 pounds. I weighed 49 pounds when I was 9. She takes a 4 or 5 shoe and has worn out a pair of slippers since January. Pam can say the Gettysburg Address. Good night. See you on the 11th. Love, Ruth. Myers, Stevens, and Ray, attorneys at law. 2121 The Superior Building, 815 Superior Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114. February 6th, 1964. February 26th, 1964. Dear Mrs. Smallshaw, Eastern Airlines has canceled the flights on which we were originally scheduled for the trip to Florida. After some shuffling around, we are now scheduled as follows. Wednesday, March 11th, arrive Tampa Airport Eastern Flight 711 at 8:10 p.m. Saturday, March 28th, leave Tampa Airport Eastern Flight 712 at 6:10 p.m. This new schedule is actually better than the original one. You will arrive at the Tampa Airport on March 11th at 7:35 p.m. and can simply wait the 35 minutes for our arrival at 8:10 p.m. Then we can all drive together from the Tampa Airport to the cottage. Incidentally, we have learned that in addition to the week before Easter, the children also have the day after Easter for vacation. The cottage is available on Sunday, March 29th and Monday, March 30th, so we are hoping to return on Monday, March 30th. The Monday, March 30th flight is full at present, but we are waitlisted on it. We hope for some good weather while we're in Florida. Love, John. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, February 25th, 1964. Dear Mother, I was very glad to get your letter. We'll soon be in Florida. By now you've heard from John of our change in plans. We'll be arriving also at the Tampa Airport, and you can meet us. It's a quicker flight, a 2-hour jet flight, and we'll have dinner on it, so we'll no sooner get on it and have dinner than it will be time to get off. We went to dinner and dance at the Cleveland Athletic Club Saturday night until 2 o'clock a.m. I had my hair done up for it in a twist, but thinking of having it cut before we go to Florida. I found it so annoying long last year when it's warm. We got home from the dance at 2 a.m. and had to teach Sunday school. Then we had John's folks for dinner. Monday I painted at art class both morning and afternoon, but got a terrific headache that evening, so bad I cried. John got the kiddies supper. Patty had the flu, so I expect I had a touch of it. She went to school today to watch Mark's French class. They're very fluent, amazingly so. Yes, bring your short fur coat. You'll need it in Toronto on the way down anyway, and you can carry it when you don't need it. I don't know how it will be in April here. We have a lot of snow now. Today was the prettiest I've ever seen it. It was like a fairyland with the thick, soft snow sticking to every single branch. The dogwood were just gorgeous with the sun on the snow-laden branches. Maybe Bud is tired. Most fellows are this time of year. That's why we have decided this is the best time to vacation. I wish Bud and his family could come down. Maybe Bud thinks Dad should be coming too. Maybe you do favor Janet. Ann Whites was very upset with her in-laws for favoring and spoiling Margot over Johnny and Sue. The smocks you had of Celia's would be good cover-up for Florida. We all have to be careful of sunburn and windburn after being covered all winter. We're going to a dinner party at some friends in Clifton Park Saturday, and next Tuesday we're having the first cottage meeting for our Lenten season here. I called 26 cards, 52 people to come, but only about 20 people say they plan to, but I don't expect them all to come. The Sunday before we leave, our neighbors across the street are having a Federalist meeting and having John speak. John is also speaking before the Junior Chamber of Commerce monthly meeting. He was in court all morning. I do plan to get a cleaning woman again, if I could just be sure of getting a good one. When Jean left to have her baby, I was relieved and glad to tackle it myself, and I don't mind it except that it's so time-consuming and seems to get beyond me at times. But it seems like a waste to have a woman rush through. I thought you might like to know our present schedule is March 11th, leave Cleveland at 6:10 p.m. by jet, arrive in Tampa at 8:10 p.m. March 28th, leave Tampa at 6:10 p.m. and arrive in Cleveland at 8:13 p.m. We're now on the waiting list to come back on Monday. I didn't realize the children had Monday off. John's folks said that if we decide to stay in Florida for Easter, that they could have an Easter egg hunt for the children later. We can have the house in Florida the 2 extra days, but the flights back are filled. I sent you a box of things. I didn't put the hem of the dress for Janet back up, had it down for Patty. I thought it would be better to measure it on her. You can give the things away if they aren't any use to you. Good night. Love, John and Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, March 5th, 1964. Dear Mother and Dad, it's hard to believe that a week from tonight we'll be in Florida. I can hardly imagine getting ready by then. I wish Dad would change his mind and come, too. John just asked me to please not plan anything else here before we leave. It seems as though I've got myself too busy this last week. We went to a dinner party Saturday evening and taught Sunday school. We had our church meeting here Tuesday evening on the 10 Commandments. Tonight we had Mr. Diamond to dinner, and he stayed until 10 o'clock p.m., so must have enjoyed himself. The children were still up. He has a housekeeper there, but he says she's not such a good cook. He is going to look after the parakeet. He's also going to drive us out to the airport Wednesday, which will be nice. Tomorrow I'm having a few neighbors in for coffee at 10 o'clock a.m. I hadn't planned to, Lent, etc., but a new neighbor across the back called and sounded lonesome. She said the nicest thing about her house was my son Mark, and her boy and Mark are friends, and she seemed so disappointed we're taking him to Florida. Then when I asked the girl across the street, she said she'd be delighted and added, "You'd think I'd just got an invitation to the White House." I'd like to get down to the Home and Flower Show. I went to the Women's Board meeting yesterday afternoon. Sunday evening, John is speaking for world peace through world law across the street. Monday, I have to go to the dentist, an hour's drive each way, so I'll be ready for a rest in Florida. I'd like to get my hair cut, but don't know when. I think you should bring along your navy spring coat. We may have some lovely days here. We've had a real variety of weather, snow, lovely soft clinging snow, then a day up in the 60s, and sunny Tuesday, then yesterday pouring rain, and today's so windy, 76-mile-an-hour winds. April is usually nicer. Bring along your blue cotton summer dress for Florida, too, and blue sweater and skirt for here. I must say goodnight. Have a resolution to write for John. Really looking forward to the sound of the surf on the sand all night. Good night. See you at the airport. Love, John and Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, April 7th, 1964. Dear Mother and Dad, we certainly do hope that you had a good trip home and that you haven't had too much to do at home. When we got back from the airport, Mrs. Ray phoned to invite us over for Sunday and was so disappointed that you had left without visiting them. They had written to Florida, but we hadn't asked for mail at the post office. Saturday morning the sun was shining, the forsythia in the house came out, and yesterday it was up to 66 degrees, and today 71 degrees, so the crocuses are out in the back and the forsythia bush popping. The children ate lunch out on the little picnic table yesterday and today. Patty said, "Grandma should have stayed until this week." Saturday morning, one of our friends in Clifton Park, her cleaning woman, phoned and said she could come today, so she did, and it was so good to have some help to get back in shape. Wish we had while you were here. She's a German woman and so nice. She said maybe I can help you and you can get your ironing done. I gave her some forsythia too, so thank you. Why don't you get a woman in to help you get caught up now? Oh, and the pictures and movie film came back Saturday too, so you could have seen them. After church Sunday, we went to Sandusky for a good roast beef dinner and Easter egg hunt. They were sorry you didn't stay. Carol's family came too, and after supper we stopped to see the latest on their house. It's quite nice. When Patty was eating her Easter rabbit roll last night, she suddenly said, my tooth, it's gone." She'd swallowed it. She wept copiously. We assured her the tooth fairy would come anyway. Pamela wrote a note of explanation. Still she cried, so we assured her everyone lost teeth, but she wailed, "But no one has four out at the same time." John said the best part of the whole vacation was seeing Peter running down the beach after him. Yesterday, Patty wore the pink smock dress that you made, and we were so sorry that she didn't wear it for you. Also, the blouse you smocked for Pamela. They've enjoyed them both and looked nice in them. Thank you, too, for the lovely hand-painted plates and choke cherry jelly. You may keep the snaps you want and return the others. Wish Pam had worn the red dress for you, too. Hope you're feeling better. Love, John, Ruth, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. Now we have 5 letters based on the original publication. The first is from my mother, the author, Ruth S. Ray. Dear Editor, the one bright spot during John's serious illness was reading the SFMC's and you children's bright sayings and activities. I remembered when you offered to share your pants if I had another baby, and Pamela out selling candy for me to raise funds for my birthday gift, and them giving John money for our date. Precious children. Now about more stories about Timothy in your letters to us. When Patricia was home, she started to read some SFMC's and said that she hadn't a copy. Sparked her interest. Thank you, Peter. Blessings. Mother. Ruth S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. Now the next letter is from my sister Patricia. Hi, Peter. I enjoyed reading SFMC number 60. I have a vague memory of swallowing that tooth. It cracks me up that Pam wrote a note of explanation to the tooth fairy. I enjoyed Timmy's letter very much. Love, Patty. Patricia A. Ray, British Colonial Hotel, Nassau, Bahamas. Now we have another letter from Ruth. Dear Editor, I read the SFMCs as soon as they arrive. Number 60 and so nostalgic, thank you. Peter wanted to be scotch-taped to me for meetings and with my hands to paint. And the plans for Mother to come to Florida with us and also to come to Cleveland. Wonderful. Both Mother and Mrs. Vogler were vying for Peter's attention, really spoiling him. So loved. Patricia losing 4 teeth at once and inconsolable. Also when she became so attached to Janet and cried when she left. So touching. When Mark phoned yesterday, I told him about the woman who said he was like a little English boy, so polite to let Pamela in and out of the church aisle, and that you children were all so well behaved. You were. And I still love listening to the surf, either Lake Erie or the ocean and the white sand. Did you know that Patricia went back to Indian Rocks Beach when she was in Florida in February for Sherry Sklorman's wedding? Nostalgic for our trips there. So lucky to have you all. Love, Mother. Ruth Smallshaw Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. And this letter is from John S. Ray. Dear Editor, SFMC number 60 arrived here after SFMC 61. Enjoyed number 60 very much. When Peter got scarlet fever, there had not been any cases in Cuyahoga County for 2 weeks. Amazing. My parents sold the lot next door in Sandusky, a decision I believe they later regretted. Red used to bring spring early by forcing Forsythia in the house. Lots of planning for the trip to Florida. I had rented a station wagon at the Tampa airport because we had 8 people plus luggage. A small car was waiting for us for the ride over to Indian Rocks Beach. We were really squished. A great trip to Florida. Keep up the good work. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Cleveland, Ohio. And the last letter is from Tessa Delina, the former Secretary of Restless Educational Center. Dear Mr. Ray, I just finished reading SFMC number 60, wherein you really have nice pictures in the cover. Again, here are some excerpts from this latest issue. This is the kind of vacation John wants. We live very quietly. John and the children like to fish, and I spend most of my time sitting on the beach. We may have some lovely days here. We've had a real variety of weather, snow, lovely, soft, clinging snow, yesterday pouring rain, and today so windy. How I wish you could have seen our house this Christmas. Blue lights outdoors, spotlight on the front door, and gold wreath and gold velvet bow in the front door, leaded glass turned into stained windows in pink, turquoise, and gold, white tree with blue lights, big candle and evergreens. I liked the way Ruth described how your house looked. It was like actually being there. And several said what nice manners all of the children had at dinner. Again, thanks for sharing with me all the issues. Tessa J. Dolina, Quezon City, Philippines. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.